All right. One more time.
Give it a shot.
See if anybody tunes back in. Give us a positive response, please and thank you.
Positive response, negative reviews.
Crossing your fingers under the table. You want to check it on yours, see if it's...
Yeah.
Yep.
Booyah.
Chris said hear ya.
Okay. All right.
Dan, we can start this show all
Yes,
over again.
we'll start this show all over again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Coaching Over Coffee Part Trace. So we have got from left to right, we've got Coach Josh Tuda, we've got Coach Ryan, Coach Casey, and myself, Coach Dan. So as we were explaining to the muted audience a little bit ago, we are doing the hot seat, which means that we have all come up with questions that we want each other to answer, and no holds barred. It is all open. We're going to interact with each other and just be open and honest with everything.
We're going to interact with each other today.
Yep.
Interact with each other. Just trying to come up with
That's
a
what
good
our
word.
podcast is going to be about, interaction today. Josh, you're going to go first today
Okay.
with the first question.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So following your Facebook post, you mentioned this is going to be like our first real full weeks in the gym. So what are our thoughts moving forward, or how have they been so far in the new gym?
Casey
All right,
goes first.
I'll go first. I think that the first couple of weeks have been very positive. I was saying before that not only did we make a big change moving into a new space, but I personally made a really big change moving from education into here full time. But so far, I'm loving my first 2 weeks.
For me, it's been breathtaking every time walking into the building. I look around and I just see that everything we accomplished in that 2-week time frame where we were down, and then everything that we can accomplish, it's mind-blowing that we did it in such a short amount of time, but it's also awesome to see what we've got planned for the future.
Yeah.
It's just seeing all the potential.
I asked a question, so you gotta.
Oh, you don't get a chance to answer your
I
own
do.
question?
But you passed it to Casey first.
Oh, okay. So I
Ryan
passed-
did say no passes in the beginning.
Before, when no
Yes.
one heard us?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that doesn't count. I think, it's super exciting because, like, obviously you have a brand new space. It's something that you made into your own with your own vibe and ambiance. And I guess, like, adding cool additions to our team, with Heather, Dawn, Danielle, being able to offer more kind of excites me too. Obviously, with the batting cages is a different element. Adding Jeff into the mix is cool too. A lot of people don't see what goes behind the scenes in the business side of it. So I think for me, it's just keep grinding, keep going. So everybody says, take a step back and realize, what you guys built. I don't have that opportunity just to say like, hey, wow, cool, black walls and wood trim. There's just more that goes behind the scenes. So sometimes overwhelmed. There's a word for you. Go ahead.
Like Ryan always tries to touch on increasing value between the members of the gym. And I think with the new space that we got, we're able to almost expedite that process, but, do it bigger and better. There's more room to see those things like take place versus I think in the last one we were kind of struggling to kind of figure out a layout with space wise because, like you said, it's a good problem to have.
Right.
But we were always so busy in the morning that things were almost limited, but now it kind of opens up a new door. So lots of new opportunities
you go from
too.
6,000 to 26,000. I don't think you have an excuse of like, I don't have any more room or
Yeah.
something. I'm going to ask a question. Okay. Hypothetically, you're in a conference, you're in a room full of other trainers. Okay. What makes each and every one of you guys stand out from another? Dan, you go first.
I would have to say it's my ability to empathize with people's individual situations. Since starting here full-time in January, I've worked with people of all different fitness groups, people who've never walked into a gym at almost 50, to people who've had accidents with like animals where their body is now changed. And you have to figure out everyone's, I don't want to say pain points, but you have to figure out what is driving them and what will keep them disciplined to keep coming back. And for, my skill is I seem to be able to pick up on that with people pretty quickly and work it to their advantage to be able to push them to be their best person.
Cool. Josh?
The energy that we radiate, but also kind of going off of what Dan had said, maybe you could say like specialization in a very general fitness group, like Dan said, having people who have never stepped in the gym at 50, 60, 70 years old and still being able to give them something that they could do that's still new every single time, takes into consideration their limitations.
Keep them safe.
Yeah, exactly. And like having a conversation with somebody last night, just as much as the gym is physical, it's mental as well. And I think we play a huge part on that, which keeps people coming back more importantly, because regardless of how hard something is, you have the people behind you to back them up. And that's like us as a base, plus the members of the gym that come in that help with that.
Sure.
So I think it's, I've heard a lot of people being like, hey, before this, so-and-so has never stepped foot in the gym or never lasted in the gym more than a month. 8 months later, look at us now.
Yeah, that's cool. How
and
does that
it's
make you feel?
very good.
Yeah.
Because it's not only just me, but it's like, just walking in through the doors in the morning. That's a big part of it too. Like that's something they always go back to. It's like everybody says hey to me, not just you, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think to build off of like the empathetic side of it, and I didn't even know this about myself, but I asked a couple people for some testimonials recently, and 3 people wrote that I was a good listener, and I did not even realize that about myself. So I think just being able to make people feel comfortable, because like we say all the time, like no 2 people exercise the same or come in here with the same fitness level. Everybody's different. So I think being able to like adapt to each individual person and make them feel comfortable in their own way.
These answers were super good, but none of you guys answered the actual question. You're in a room full of trainers, not a room full of clients. What makes you stand out amongst other trainers?
It's a hard question.
It is. And that, yes, I told you I got hard.
Well, I
questions.
think I was speaking with all of their answers as well. Is a lot of trainers you see online might seem very, I don't want to say egotistical, but yes.
That's my answer
Yeah.
for you guys is the fact that you don't have to stand
Yeah.
out and you don't have to crave attention. Your professionalism, the empathy, the great listening, the skill sets that you guys all offer. I'm not just tooting your horn because you're on this show, because there's obviously things that we all have to work on. But those are the things that are going to separate you. We're saying, like, I'm not clawing for your business or your attention, and I have to be in, this in the limelight. Like, oh my God, look how fit Josh is. Josh can kind of like ride in the back, but he's got 10 different clients of 10 different fitness levels that can do just as much, as a 15 or 16-year-old athlete. So that's the answer I was giving you guys, but I knew the answer that you guys were going to give. That was a trick question. Casey, your question.
Okay. What is one of your life mantras or mottos?
I'll go. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Okay.
And that's I'm a 0 to 1,000 type of person. Everybody knows that about me. If I'm 0, I'm not into it. Like being handy. Everybody knows, you give me a hammer and I'll leave that alone. Yeah, I hate it. I hate being handy, or I don't have the patience for it. But if I want to make a gym in 12 days on Pinterest, then we'll do that. That's my mantra.
I'm next.
Yeah, I
All
just
right.
looked at you.
Words of war become acts of war. So kind of when you say anything out loud, things tend to come to fruition. So, don't speak of something that maybe you're not so sure about, or saying like, hey, I hate doing this, because obviously, now once you say that out loud, you're going to notice time and time again, it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Your Dan Effin Roberts is one of the ones that I use all the time, but that was because someone said that to me. That was, that was the special one. But another one that I live by is you're 10 toes above the ground. Like every day that you wake up, I genuinely in my heart believe you have an opportunity to do good. it's what you do in that amount of time that really dictates that. And I have that written on my whiteboard at home before I walk out the door. It's like, I'm 10 toes above the ground. I can be a better person today.
What action figure do you give a high five to on the way out?
All right, there's Darth Vader, but we're not going to talk about 3-foot Darth Vader.
The 3-foot. Casey, what about yours, kid?
I don't know if I necessarily have like one that I follow, but I mean, it's cliche, but they say like every day is a new day, but I'll explain a little bit. So like everybody thinks there's like a right time to start something or do something. And I've learned in the last year or so that there is no right time. So I think you have to take advantage and, you know, if you want to do something, wake up the next day and just do it.
Do it. Yeah. Dan, you're up, kid.
All right, going the old school way, everyone has phones or whatever. What is one area in life that you want to improve in?
Okay.
Tough.
There's no passing.
I know.
First thing that comes to your mind.
First thing that comes is it's got to be, has to do with like mentally and probably emotionally. Having the strength to hold on to things, or like at least like keep my back or chest upright. I think that's it. I think that would be the best way to put it.
Elaborate on that.
Like you always say, we're very empathetic people, and I think I tend to wear that a lot. So I show that, which obviously isn't like a bad thing, but obviously you kind of want to be a little bit, what would you say, modest with it in the best way.
Yeah. I struggle with patience. You guys know that, like, I can't wait for something to happen. If I have like a project in front of me, like I'll do whatever it takes, and that's like to paint till 2:00 in the morning or whatever to do it. I do it. I struggle with leading is one thing that I always said I've struggled with because communication between multiple different people. I think coaching, you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes, and what's going to motivate one person is not going to motivate another person. So for me, I always kind of go back to be like, oh, Jesus, that's how I did it. So that's the right way or wrong way. But I struggle with patience to want things more for somebody else than they want it for themselves in a faster amount of time, just because I've known that if you don't do things expeditedly, the chances of you grabbing a hold of it and actually absorbing it and doing it are very slim the longer it goes out. So for example, if I want to lose weight, well, I can't say to someone, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. You're going to lose a pound a week for 20 weeks. They want to see a result real quick. So I struggle coaching, leading, and then being patient.
Okay. I would say being more spontaneous. Like I like to be in control and not necessarily like I'm not controlling of other people, but the things within my life, like there are things that you can control, things that you cannot control. I can't control what other people are going to say. I can't control how people are going to react to certain things. That's something that I've always struggled with. So I think just going with the flow more.
Dan, what about you?
I have learned recently I need to learn to give myself more grace, and that we've had a very long conversation about it. Also, I talked to my therapist about it, and one of the things that I do not do is give myself enough grace for the things that I have done and the things that I've improved on in my life. And one of the reasons why is like I am afraid to fail because the taste of failure is so awful. I don't ever want to have it again. So I hold myself at that standard so I never have to taste that again. And that can be problematic in life and relationships and like raising a kid. Like it's been difficult holding yourself to that standard 24/7.
Sure.
So I need to work on accepting good.
Yeah, good. The
I'm
feathered-haired boy.
Feathered Indians. How do you guys deal with, let's say, client negativity? Somebody who's, let's say, been seeing you for a while, is not necessarily where they want to be, maybe isn't the best with taking advice or will continuously kind of question yours. Not saying that we are always right, but like Ryan always says, you know, you bring your car to a car shop because they're the ones that know how to get it done, versus I think a lot of people maybe in this industry tend to question us versus what they're going to see on a magazine cover, what they see online. So how do you hold yourself up to maybe get them the results, or at least kind of be assertive with, hey, this is the direction things are going to go in?
I'll go first because this is something that I am still figuring out and I've been struggling with. But I think leaning on you guys has definitely helped. We have like a library of knowledge here. Like I talked to you very recently about this. Books that we give out, podcasts for people to listen to. And I've done this with a client before, very similar situation. I've worked with her. She was one of my very first clients. I started with her in October. Probably in like February, she was like, hey, like, no progress. I don't know what I can do differently. So we sat down and we kind of just started from scratch. Like, where do you want to be? She has grandkids. Do you want to be able to like get up and down off the ground, play with your kids when, you know, in 10 years when they get older? That was something that was definitely a little triggering for her, but it was good. She needed to hear it. So I think learning, like you said, to be assertive and push, but in a way where you're still caring and compassionate at the same time. So, yeah.
I typically ask questions that I already know the answers to, but I got to get them to say the answer. So that way it's them saying it, not me telling them. I also think like you can be assertive, but give them small goals, hold them super accountable. You know, like even if it's like, hey, you struggle with your nutrition, take a picture of your food every single meal and send it to me. You know, it's super basic and easy for them to do. But again, I think if you're not tying emotion to this whole process and what's going to really, really trigger them and excite them. I mean, I just sat down with somebody the other day and the conversation was like, hey, what do you want to do? I want to get fit. Okay. Identify what fit is, because your fit is different than mine. So we had to peel back the onion layers and really kind of dive into it. It's like, what's going to make you jump up and down and excited? Not me to tell you that, hey, you should run a 5K, you should run a Spartan race, you should climb the mountains. What is going to excite you that if you did it, you would be like, oh my God, I'm so elated. So I think really asking the questions and actually, you know, putting the ball in their court. Hey, where do you think I need to get better? Mm-hmm. Hey, how can I hold you more accountable? What do you expect from me? Like you sitting down with the client, that's outside of pay grade, like, because we get paid per hour. True or true? Mm-hmm. Yep. I was taught that the money that you make is before and after your session. We've always said that. Yeah. It's the program design. Hey, it's the meal planning. It's the dialogue and the human interaction and relationships that you build afterwards. It's going to watching the kids play. It's, you know, going outside and running with your client. You know, it's not something that we always have to do, but you do because you're, like you said before, when you guys stood out from a crowd of the same peers, you guys are empathetic. But really just kind of like holding them accountable, but finding what's going to really make them tick and excited.
I'll constantly remind them of the reason why they started. When they start feeling negative or dejected, case in point, almost, I don't know if you guys experienced this, almost all of my clients when we came back from the hiatus were super down on the fact that, oh my God, after 2 weeks, I've lost all this. It's like, it was reminding them first off, you know, it was 2 weeks, you know, if you were active or not, that is a long time. But also, you know, remember why we're starting to begin with. We're still continuing that same goal.
Sure.
It's just there was a hiccup in time. They beat themselves up for a little bit because they were sore or whatnot. But then the next session, they understood exactly what I meant because they went right back to going in that positive direction. It's just, for me, it's reminding them and knowing why and keeping that in my brain too. Like, I have to know why this person is doing this.
Right.
You know, like seeing your daughters walk down the aisle, that's powerful stuff. Like, that stays with both them and you. So it's doing that.
I think, like you had mentioned, that hiatus or like brief marker of like not working out is a good like physical representation to clients of like things are not always going to work out the way you want them to. Not everything's going to be linear. You're going to have things that are unexpected that your client physically cannot control, like the gym being closed. Sure, they can do stuff outside, but of course we're here for a reason. We're still there to hold them accountable, but it's like, you know, you couldn't come to the gym physically. What are you going to do in the meantime? Versus, you know, are you just going to take the 2 weeks off, kind of but gonna plummet the progress that you've had just because it's not gonna continue right away.
Yeah.
So they get to see that little like dip in the whatever graph.
I have a question. What's one insult that you've received that you're proud of? Josh, you go first.
Oh, jeez. Insult.
That somebody labeled you as a negative characteristic, but you view it for yourself as a positive.
Being selfish, I think.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, like we have now kind of devoted our lives to giving our time to everybody else other than ourselves. So now giving so much, you're more, I don't want to say attacked, but people are now more out to make you feel guilty for doing so when you do take that step back to be like, listen, I'm not going to have my phone on me for the next 2 hours. Going to go outside, do something, whatever it is, errands, just leave my phone elsewhere. And then I come back and it's like, hey,
where were you when I
Yeah.
needed you? Yeah. But kind of like chime in on that, and I want you guys to kind of answer that. Do you guys feel the same way sometimes? You being, pretty green when it comes to this. Green.
that's old.
Throwback. What do you guys think about that? It's like, hey, being selfish and labeled as selfish. Obviously, we label selfishness as a bad thing, bad characteristics. Like, hey, that's my ball, I won't share. But I think now more as mental health picks up and we're supposed to be more conscious of taking care of who we are. How do you guys feel with the delineation between your client's time, the energy you give out, and then also having enough time, energy in your own space?
Still working on it.
Okay, good. Work in progress. I think we always are. It's establishing your own boundaries too. Like you said, hey, I'm going to put my phone down. It's one thing I've always struggled with. I was supposed to put my phone down for months at 6 p.m.
How did that?
It never worked one day.
Yeah, I was just
never
about to say,
once.
I was going to say, how many seconds did that
Never
last?
once. And I had a good justification of it. I just said, like, if you ever reached out to a human being that you sought advice from or comfort or support, and you reached out to that person in a dire time of need where you're vulnerable, like something was the matter, and you reached out and was like, hey, are you free? Or hey, blah, blah, blah. Imagine if that person never responded to you in like 12 hours. It would suck, right? I just never wanted someone to feel that way because of me. So that's where like I hold it to, like your own detriment too sometimes, where it's kind of like you're always on, right? You're always on. You're never still. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to agree with that. Also, I have to be selfish with the fact that this is my job. This is my profession. This is my line of work. So I understand that, yes, to some, me having my phone in my hand and talking to people or trying to figure out ways of doing cool workouts might be annoying to someone, but it's like, this is what I need to feel fulfilled.
Sure.
Like that's one of the things for me. So selfishly, if by giving my time in some areas might affect like my time with my kid or my time with others, I need to do it for myself because this is what fills my bucket. People's successes and working with you guys, honestly, is what fills my bucket every day. So like, I'm going to be very selfish with that.
Are there people who don't value that?
Of course there are.
Yeah,
You're always
there
gonna
are
have
those
that.
people that don't understand because it's like, we're not in a 9-to-5 profession. Okay, I've worked in places where I show up, I swipe my card, I go in, I do my thing, I swipe out. I don't want to think about that place after. Like it is draining to them. That's the polar opposite for when I walk in here. Like when I walk in here, this is my purpose. And my purpose is also affecting people's lives positively outside of just my clients. Because we know a lot of people
Sure.
in here.
Right.
So it's the community that was built. I'll be selfish with that.
Insult that you've received that you find as a compliment.
Oof. I was called infidel in Iraq once, and I just follow me on this one.
Okay.
Like
How long of a story is it going to be?
it's gonna be quick.
Okay.
Okay.
So 7 minutes. Go ahead.
We were in the main traffic circle in the city. we were handing out police wanted flyers, like we needed new police officers for the Iraqi police. Dude looked at it, spit at me, called me infidel, and pulled off. And I kept that in the back of my mind that, you know, the dude was just living his life and he was this guy. But then I looked at it later in life as being like, you know, you're going to be that person to a lot of people, like the person that is not wanted doing their job, but you have to do your job. And there are some times where, you know, in life, you find yourself stuck in a job, you're doing your job, you're doing your best. Just keep doing your best job, even if that one person doesn't care or want you there.
Do your best.
Yes.
I only snickered because I immediately thought of what's his name, Jeff Dunham,
Oh,
the ventriloquist. Yeah, not at you, Dan. Sorry.
It's okay.
I've been told many times that I'm too emotional. Like I can be okay, really? Go ahead, let it out. I can
Did
be
you say that?
I didn't say it. No.
No, I know why he's laughing.
Okay, go.
I can be defensive sometimes, and like I mentioned before, like that's part of the control. Like I want to control how other people are going to react to things that I say or do, and I can't, unfortunately. But I don't think being emotional is a bad thing either. And that's what I'm learning. And I think there's a difference between being defensive in a negative way and standing up for yourself and having a voice. And that's something that I'm learning, is that I don't need to swallow my pride and just apologize for something if I don't feel that it's necessary to apologize. That's something I've learned in therapy, is that it's okay to have a voice, and speak your side on certain things. And it's interesting because I can be very emotional, but at the same time, I also can put on a front. Like you have to really, really know me in order to see me be emotional. But if you do, then it's like, I almost feel bad for you. So.
I think I'll answer my own question. Obsessive is mine. You know, where some people think like it's over the top, or it kind of like takes away from you or others around you because you want something so bad. I challenge some people to become obsessive about something positive.
See, and that's the thing, is that selfish and obsessive are like negative words for a lot of people. And it's like, if you become so obsessed with becoming great at something, then, you know, you are the best in your field, theoretically. So it's like, I don't want a doctor to be looking at me that isn't obsessed with making sure my heart works.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can understand where on your end, like, being told you're too obsessive about something, it's like, I wish you would feel that once in your life.
I wish that you could wake up and have a huge purpose or have long-term vision enough to see like, hey, something come to fruition. Like, yeah, like I nostalgically drove by my old gym. It was 2,500 square feet, and like peeking into it, it was like a little bit bigger than this office. And now you walk in here or even look at the other space over there, it's kind of like weird to see. And I said to you guys, like, I want you to be such a huge part of the making of this space, so that way you could feel that one day. Because I mean, 56,000 square foot, I don't know, we're going to an arena next or something like that. I mean,
the gym arena, I could see it.
Crazy, yeah. But I wish people could give themselves the chance to become obsessive about something that they're so passionate about. And, you know, it's not even about money making. It's about developing a huge community of people that are, like you say, like when I see Mo every single time, you have no chance but to smile, right? Mm-hmm. When she walks in, you're just like so jacked up because she's so bubbly, so energetic. So it's not just about who you interact with on a one-on-one basis, but just surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I think that the gym, not ours, but just in general, are people that always want to be better. So they could be the ones sitting on the couch every single day, but you're celebrating the fact that, hey, I don't want to be average and mediocre. I want to get better today by failing, by sweating, by being sore, by trying to accomplish something. So I challenge everybody to be obsessive about something positive. Your next question.
Okay. So I recently made a post, and in the post I talked about the 3 C's in life. Yep. So choices, chances, and changes. So I want you guys to share a time in your life where you made a choice that led to a chance that changed something in your life.
It's easy. Go ahead.
Okay, go.
I mean, just just taking the choice, change, chance on yourself. I think that's every day. I mean, I don't think it has to be some sort of big venture. You know, it's if you're passionate about wanting to do something, you're investing in yourself. And I wish everybody could realize that you can't expect out of people, rely on people, or even those two words I think are really big for me, because if you try to lean on somebody and expect them to do so much, then it takes away from the accomplishment on your end. You know, it's okay to ask for help. I'm the person that's never, right, going to ask for the help. You guys know that about me. But when I do, I know that it's needed. So I think every day when you walk into the gym, or you walk into your job, or you walk into like go for a run, you're taking a choice, you're making a change, and you're taking a chance on yourself to become better every day. So, I mean, my position is like starting a gym, but go ahead.
I think still being young, relating it to, you know, moving on from one college to another, you know, still being home, trying to juggling work, moving into an apartment when kind of didn't feel like it was right, but you were like, you know, what's the worst that can happen after 6 months? You go back home. Just actually like really living alone. And I think still every single day is a struggle. I'm not the best person to be in front of people. Like I'd still get nervous every single day, no matter that I've seen the same people for a year and a half straight now.
What are you nervous about? Perception?
Not really. I think it's just like, I don't know, whatever
Angst.
I portray. Yeah, maybe like a little anxious with it. I don't know. I've never been good with it. So it's
Is
just been,
anxiety a sign of fear, though? Isn't it an emotion of fear?
I'd say
What
it's
do you-
trying to control the outcome that you can't. But it's
Okay.
always like, you know, always trying to be like one step ahead, but not really knowing the steps that it takes to get there.
Sure.
And trying to like navigate it. So like playing out a script in your head, you know, with a conversation with somebody, and, you know, maybe you do jumble on your words and everybody makes fun of you for it. So it's like those little things.
Perception.
Yeah. I guess.
Clark.
So when I enlisted, I think is that point going forward, because every choice that I have made since enlisting has been because of that one decision, and I have been able to put myself in situations through that job that made it easier to understand, like my 2 Air Force kids that are about to leave. You know, like the state trooper that I was training last summer. Like, I understand the things that these guys are going to go through physically, but more importantly, the emotional thing. And because of that one choice, I'm able to be empathetic with them, but it also allows me to heal, which is a strange catharsis with that. Like, I'm passing on the knowledge that I had to these young guys, and let's hope that they make the choices that maybe I didn't, that, you know, when you look back, I wouldn't regret anyway.
Casey, I'm going to throw it back to you now, because it's going to go under the same kind of thing. But it was more towards Dan and Casey. What was the one thing that gave you the most courage to leave your previous jobs?
Casey, I'll let you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is like a
because-
loaded question.
Because those are your 3 C's, though. What
Okay.
gave you the courage to give you those 3 C's?
I would wake up every day and come here and work out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I dreaded having to leave here to go to my other job, to the point where towards the very end, I was literally in tears before my students would walk in the door. And I was like, this isn't normal. I'm 23 and I cannot do this for the rest of my life. And I had felt that way before, but I never had anything else to fall back on. So I think being able to experience this and coaching and really feel like this was like my thing, like having a purpose, like you mentioned before, I felt like this was my purpose and teaching was not. And I mean, we're teachers. Like
Sure.
we
Yeah.
all teach, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we don't just teach fitness. It's a lot more than that. It's a whole umbrella of things. And I think just feeling like this is what I was made to do, it made it much easier to walk away from that situation.
Cool.
Last August is what did it. You know, everything that happened in the middle of the month, and the treatment of me by the two employers that I was working for, both here and my previous job, where it was, I had a group of people that threw all of the positive energy at me that they had during my worst time. And, working here, I was given the time to heal, and that was what you cared about. You cared about Dan the person, not Dan the person that comes in here and does these classes. Where at my other job, it was more of, hey, we're taking your vacation time for your bereavement. Oh, hey, you can't do this life goal that you wanted to do. Oh, hey, by the way, you can't miss a day for the next 6 months. Do your job at the best. It's like, the choice was obvious. Like, I'm gonna come to the place that gives me the most joy in life and the most positivity. And honestly, in January when I walked away, there was not one moment where I second guessed it. And I think that was the moment where it's like, this is where you're meant to be. And then the journey in the last 6 months is 26,000 square feet. It's like, all because I trusted a place in my worst time and it delivered.
Mm-hmm. Who's up next? I have another one that I kind of want to stem off from if I'm going to dominate this entire podcast with questions.
Let's do it.
Yeah, go
I'm
for
cool
it.
with it.
I wanted to know how you two, being younger, because you used youth as an excuse. I say as an excuse because both of you have so much more maturity than an average kid your age. How do you give advice to somebody that's older than you and get them to take you serious?
Put yourself on. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go.
Put yourself on their level. See what you have about you that might be similar. Granted, the severity of situations are always different, but to be vulnerable to kind of show where you were at a lower point too. Mm-hmm. At one point, I think it just shows we're human. We're not perfect. I have a good leg to stand on that I studied it, but also, again, just the feelings that I have of trying to put on like somebody else's shoes, I think helps a lot. I try not to like over explain anything, but it's like, listen, sure, age is like a big factor here, but it's not the only factor.
Sure.
We could have gone through the same thing. I just did it 5 years earlier, 5 years later, and try to really be on a personal level and like establish some sort of trust. Or like relationship first.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that confidence is very important because if you're not confident in yourself, it's going to show very quickly. And even if you're not confident, you just fake it till you make it. I hate that saying, but it's true. And that's something that I had a hard time with in the beginning, was learning, like, how do I assert myself to someone that is 20, 30 years older than I am? But honestly, they're coming here for a reason. And you've said before, like, people trust that you are going to put someone in front of them that knows what they're doing. And so I just have to carry that with me every day and believe that.
Yeah. Who's got the next question? Because I'm done. I actually have a lot more good ones, but
It is 7:14. I wanted to give you the Iggy.
okay. Give me like 3 more, or 4 more minutes, or 5 more minutes.
All right, cool.
Celebrity golf tournament today. It's Living for Me. If you guys get a chance, it's in Hudson Falls, Kingsbury National Golf Course. There's a truck that they're raffling off. There's a bunch of gift baskets. There's going to be terrible golfers there. There's going to be a lot of drinking, I assume. But yeah, if you go online, follow that page too.
All right,
Plug.
I'm ending with a fun one. Someone makes a movie about the story of your life. Who do you want to have narrate your life story?
Wow.
Miles Teller.
You're big on him today.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors.
Will Smith, just because I feel like he can kind of give me excitement, but also be serious too, and fun.
We can't pass. I really don't know. I don't know if I can answer that.
I'm trying to think of somebody for her.
I know.
Yeah. Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? He's been thinking about this. He's called the person. He sent a video audition to them.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
He's the only one.
Yeah, that's good.
That's literally the only one because he's the man.
Tudo, what do you got for questions? You're both.
It might be a long one, but
Go
we
ahead.
could probably. All right. So we read a lot to try to help our clients, members, and I think with that, sometimes might be in a negative way. We try to intellectualize a lot of our feelings, without actually feeling them. So what do you guys do to physically, like, sure, it's great to understand maybe why you're feeling some sort of way or where it might stem from, but what do we do physically to really work on that, or I don't want to say change, but help with that? Because it's easy to just like slap a label on something, and try to push it off to the side, but what can you do to really work on it, make it a part of you, and see the change at the end?
Therapy.
Yeah, I was going to say therapy is super helpful for me.
I'll go with the third one. I mean, my therapist literally can understand how I'm feeling the moment I walk in. So we're able to pick apart what that is. And I know that it sounds weird for people to talk about therapy more openly now.
Sure.
But I feel if we do, then it puts the seed in someone's head.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners need listeners.
Yeah.
I mean, therapists need therapists. Just think about like all the things that get dumped on you on a normal day-to-day basis. It's tough, like, to not emotionally wear it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go. If you had, hang on, I'm going to go back to it really quick. If you had a warning label, what would yours say? I told you. I had
Like
the
a
good
beware
ones.
of dog sort of thing?
Sure. It's
Okay.
a warning label.
Explicit content.
I knew that was going to be it. I asked that question to somebody else, and that's what we agreed with. Go ahead, Casey.
I don't know. Sometimes I can talk excessively. Like if someone asks me a question.
Excessive.
If there's something to do with, like, please wear headphones, you might not be able to hear this.
Yours could be like, shh, super quiet. Like a library. Like to tell you to stop talking. That'd be a good one.
Hold the shush sign up.
Can we like talk about one thing really quick?
Yeah.
When Casey is very, very quiet, right? Unless like provoked into conversations. I'll never forget the first day I think you guys were painting one of the rooms together, right? What day was it? I mean, it was the bathrooms or something you guys were painting. And I came in and I said, she hasn't shut up once.
Oh, no, they were doing the cycling room.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I go,
us.
and I said, she hasn't shut up once. And I looked at Brian because Brian was painting up with the ceiling. And he goes, I feel like it's like an episode of Gossip Girl. Dan hasn't said a word.
I think you had music playing too.
She didn't shut up. And it was for hours. I don't think like Brian goes, is she reading a script?
I told you.
Yeah.
Told you.
Well, it's funny because then I checked in because I think I was just coming from class. Dan was at one corner, the far one, and Casey was kind of like right behind the door, kind of talking into the corner at the wall, and Dan was just going. I don't know if they saw me come in, but I didn't think Dan was really paying attention, and she was just like,
I don't like
Go.
silence. I
Okay.
really don't. Makes me uncomfortable.
Honestly, I didn't mind it. It was funny because that was the first time I actually got to have a real conversation with you. So it was like, she's cool. Y'all, she's cool.
Yeah. One more
Thanks.
question. You guys got one more question.
What is something you're randomly good at that has nothing to do with fitness or the gym or any of that stuff?
Okay. Dan.
I impersonate presidents.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. I just said to Pete last night, your Donald Trump impersonation is very good.
Do a little Trump for everybody.
I'm telling you, this is the greatest podcast of all time. Ryan, you're a very great American. You're one of the best. In fact, I hope you win that golf tournament. Come down to Mar-a-Lago. I'll have you. We can have a steak dinner. It'll be wonderful.
In a George Bush.
But you see, the problem is that the mission isn't accomplished yet because you haven't won that golf tournament.
In a Clinton.
But I'll tell you right now, we can go and make sure we get you in the limo and get you out there.
In the Obama.
But Ryan, I also feel you need to be humble while you're on that stage.
What are you good at?
cooking.
Okay. Did anybody see what I made for dinner last night, by the way?
I did. I
Yeah.
sent a.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really good at making people laugh when they don't want to laugh.
Mm.
Yeah.
An
And usually-
interior design.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at
Yeah.
that. You have one more question, then we are
Sure.
done.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go off the hip with this one. All right. In the last 2.5 weeks, what have you learned about yourself that you didn't know previously?
Loaded or you can always handle more than you think. Obviously it still feels heavy, but it doesn't mean you can't continue walking.
Casey, go ahead.
Oh man, this is a tough question. Well, that I can do this on very limited hours of sleep. But outside of that, if we want to get really into it, I think just that I can connect with a very broad spectrum of people. And it's not that I didn't know that before, but I was only here for a couple hours a day, and now I'm here all day long. So the variety of clients is all over the place. It ranges from young kids, 8 years old, all the way up to like elderly. We're doing the chair class. So I think just being able to adapt to that and work with all different types of people.
Answer your own question.
That I can become more organized than I thought I could be before, because I've always been one person to just ready, shoot, aim, and having to go into task and purpose again was good, and it was nice to know that I could do it on my own without having someone back me up all the time.
Awesome episode of Coffee Talk, everyone.
You said no passes.
Just trying to see if you would pay attention. That I can be more assertive when it comes to leaning on people for help. So as you guys have known, I've really kind of like let go of the reins and let you guys run the show and make decisions and pick out apparel and organize meetings and things like that, because there's a level of trust that you guys have earned from me, which is not an easy thing, because it's like, you're holding someone's baby, that for me is something I've learned in the last 2.5 weeks. Doesn't mean I'm always happy about some of the decisions or conversations that we have. But I've learned that I can let go and everything will be okay. So I don't have to always have control.
It's good.
Yeah. Josh, end the show, because you do a really good job with it.
Check out the gym's YouTube channel with all previous episodes that will be listed into a playlist. I believe it is just the gym. Subscribe, share, comment, like, pass on to your friends. Coffee Talk. Wow. Coaching Over Coffee every Saturday.
See everybody.
Live. Thank you guys.
Live, take 3, 17 times.